Hi, this is Clark and this is the second program in a series of the elements of photography. Today we're going to talk about backlight, and backlight's like one of my favorite sources of light. People always ask me, what kind of lighting do you like? I say backlight. In fact, oftentimes I'll say there's three kinds of lighting that you should be thinking about, and that's backlight, backlight, and backlight. I know that sounds a little simplistic, but in fact, this is an illustration of how I think when it comes to the light. The subject in the center, with their nose pointing at us, at the camera in the lower center, and the sun, of course, can be in any number of areas. So I always look to try to get it, in the ideal areas would be just off to the right or left, and then depending on the time of day, of course, it would be way up in the air or way down low to the horizon. But in any case, to think about what are those ideal areas where that sun could be relative to the subject that you're photographing. This is maybe a little easier to understand. And in Alaska, of course, we have incredible opportunities here because our magic hour starts for about 3 hours before sunrise, and then goes until about 10 o'clock in the morning, and then starts up again about 6 p.m. in the evening and goes well after sunset. So depending on where you are on the equator, or up here in Alaska, you're going to have varying amounts of what we call magic light. And this is a great example of what to avoid when that sun is way up in the sky, and the closer it gets down to the horizon, the better it is. And sometimes even after either before or after the sun sets. This is my friend Nathan Jackson, and he's a master totem carver who lives in Ketchikan. And this is a great example of a couple of things: angle of view and backlighting. You see how that light's coming over his shoulder, and then we're using a little reflector to reflect the light back into his face. And I think you'll agree that both he and the totem are fairly well illustrated. Sometimes the light is throwing shadows toward the camera, and that's another big advantage of shooting backlight. In this case, this is a friend of mine, his daughter, and he wanted me to photograph her. And we originally had set this up where she was on the other side of the swing, and we were photographing her with this light in front of her. And those photographs were fine, but we turned her around in the swing and started photographing with the light behind her. And I think you'll agree this is a pretty fun image. This was at the Alaska State Fair, and it was a very hot day, so the booths had their back doors open. And this is again sometime after 6 o'clock in the evening, and that light was just pouring in, and all these little particles of cotton candy were caught in the air. And again, this picture could not have been made, it would not have been successful without that backlight. And finally, when you're thinking about photographing food, think about backlight, because that's really one of the most effective ways to show food. And this was just one little soft box with a very small strobe, and on location. And I think you'll agree that this is a pretty delectable looking food and a pretty nice photograph. So that's it for today. I think that's going to be an end. We'll see you next time when we'll talk about another element of photography. Thanks so much, and see you soon.